Welcome, everybody. Right about now, so glad that you are tuned in. Just making sure we got everything happening. Guess who's joining us? Our very own Don Rickles, as he calls himself.
Once
Zach
again,
Arns.
risking your career to just waste time with me.
I love wasting time with you. I'm just gonna make sure I can hear you. Talk into your microphone.
Check 1, 2.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
see, it's beautiful, isn't it?
So
this thing has a processor on it. It drops my voice about 6 octaves.
Yeah.
Normally, I sound like Judy Garland.
You're kind of a Mickey Mouse sounding guy
bit.
in the room.
Yeah, very squeaky.
But I'm at the home. Whenever you're listening, it just sounds amazing. You were saying Don Rickles just kind of wasted time.
Yeah, when Johnny Carson would get stuck and a guest would cancel, he'd call Rickles.
Right.
And there's a couple of very famous episodes where I guess Rickles was taping a TV show next door, and Johnny just walked in and right in the middle of their taping, and they had a pretty good relationship. And whenever he got stuck, he'd just bring Rickles on, and Don Rickles would just go.
Don Rickles would go.
Yeah.
Don Rickles would Don Rickles.
Yeah, I loved it.
You're speaking my language. Obviously, late night TV, I have the late night show that I do. So other than Later with Jason Suel, when you got to throw it back, like who is your GOAT of late night television?
Well, technically it is you, because I found out I have an IMDb page.
That's right.
Because of you.
Yes.
Which I did not know.
Internet Movie Database. You can look him up, Zach Arns.
I am there.
All of his credits are from his appearances on Later with Jason Suel.
I just somebody Googled me and like, do you know you have an IMDb page? I'm like, no.
Yes.
So I went and I looked it up, and sure enough, no. I grew up watching Letterman.
Yeah.
Late night TV, late night talk shows was not necessarily my thing. I did a lot of like Friday night videos. Remember those? When we were growing up.
Johnny Carson was always on at my house, and I caught some of his stuff, which I thought was absolutely just, chef's kiss. And then you're right, Letterman was the one when I was a kid and growing up. I mean, obviously we had kind of the Letterman-Leno wars.
Have you seen the movie The Late Shift?
Oh, yeah.
One of my all-time favorite
Old
movies.
school movie.
Yeah.
They did that on HBO back in the day.
Yeah, it was an HBO movie. It was one of the first HBO movies.
Yeah.
Kathy Bates is in it.
Yes.
It's the story of the Letterman-Leno late night battle to get to the Tonight Show.
The Tonight Show
after
job.
Johnny Carson retired. It's one of my favorite movies all the time. I quote it all the time.
Yeah. Do you?
Yeah. I have a DVD copy of it, and that's I'll watch it. I'll probably watch that movie once a year.
You know what I loved about Letterman was his I don't want to say gimmicks, but he had the best games. Leno had like Leno on the Street, which was fun when he would walk around and just like talk to people. But Letterman had, know your cuts of meat and know your current
the GE
events.
Employee of the Week.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. It was fun.
A totally different audience too. The late night, the 12:30 audience is totally different than the 11:30 audience.
Yeah.
And he understood that. And when he made the change to go over to the Ed Sullivan Theater and CBS, he was able to sort of temper his act a little bit. But yeah, those were the golden days, I think, of late night television. Is the Letterman, Leno, and everybody. Arsenio was in there for a little bit. Arsenio doesn't get enough credit for changing the way late night went, but he made it more culturally acceptable for younger people like us.
Absolutely,
Carson catered to people who are our age now.
Right.
Letterman to an extent, definitely. Arsenio catered.
He
to
had the younger
people.
audience.
Yeah.
I was in New York. This was several years ago now, I say recently, and I just decided to go find Hello Deli. Do you remember Rupert's Hello Deli from Letterman? And anyway, I went and snapped a picture of myself there, and it got the most likes of any of the photos that I posted from that trip to New York was of Hello Deli.
Yeah, it's a very influential time, and especially in television. That whole late 80s, early 90s. Letterman makes the shift. Arsenio rises up. Really, really fun time to be in that business.
It was a fun time to be in that business, and obviously I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff today is still pretty fun.
I can't stay up that late.
But it is. I agree with you. I watch it as a clip. I have not watched a show in real time, not even Saturday Night Live. You might think, hey, you might stay up a little bit later on Saturday night.
Not a chance.
Nope, going to bed.
No, 9:30, 10 o'clock, it's lights out.
It's lights out, exactly. Yes, I'm not up. We got to talk about movies. I feel like let's do this. We kind of set up the show. We're going to be talking about pop culture. We're going to be talking about sports, obviously, because Zach is here. So we've got a lot coming down the pike. But let's just take a quick break right now. We'll kind of regroup and figure out how do we want to attack this beast first, and then we'll come back with more right about now. Keep it right here.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We are glad that you're tuned in for right about now. Zach Arns joining us from ESPN Arkansas. You know, we were talking just a little bit in the break about how your show goes. So if you don't know, Zach, part of Ruskin and Zag airs here on ESPN Arkansas statewide, right?
Yeah, you can hear us corner to corner.
Is that a good
and
or
into parts of Missouri?
good or bad thing?
Well, we think it's a good thing. Some people might not, but yeah, we're doing just great. Everything's going great. It's a lot of fun. Summertime's always difficult because there's nothing going on.
Man, let me tell you, there were a few weeks this summer where on Good Day NWA, I was like, I don't know how much I can tax the guests that are my friends, because I've already had them on like 6 times each.
Yes.
And at some point I got to stop, the bleeding. And then also there's just not a whole lot of people who have events to promote. It's like once you get through a certain point in the summer, everybody's just kind of chilling and taking their own summer break too. So content just dries
There's
up.
about a 10-week window where it just kind of slows down. And, fortunately, you've got the 4th of July this summer. We had the World Cup, which helped us a ton.
Yeah.
Summertime is notoriously difficult, but we're built for it.
Right.
This is our time to thrive. You want to talk about food and weird things? That's
Professional
pretty much
talkers.
what we do. Yeah.
Going back to the World Cup, let me just preface this question by saying I was not upset or even miffed that the United States didn't make it very far. I was just kind of like, yeah, round of 16 seems about where that team would end up.
They were ranked 16th in the world.
If they made it to the round of 8, I would have been thrilled. I was a little bit surprised that they got throttled by Belgium.
They
but
looked like a high school team.
They didn't look like they wanted to be there that game.
It was sometimes you run into a team that's supremely talented and they can make you look extremely bad.
Right.
And I think that's part of what happened. But then frustration set in. And I hate saying this, but Christian Pulisic is a guy. He's not the guy. He's just a guy.
Right.
And we'd heard for a decade that they were building him up into this. He was going to be the next
Super
big thing.
player.
And we've seen it before with young guys that have come along, and they're going to be the next big thing. They're going to be the big selling point. All you had to do was, I'm a huge Premier League fan. I've watched Pulisic wash out of the Bundesliga. I've watched him wash out of the Premier League. He's a guy.
Who does he play with?
He's with AC Milan now.
Okay.
And he's a complimentary player at best. He's probably a third wheel.
I mean, he's got some good passes. I mean, he can.
He's always hurt.
He's
always got an excuse.
That is his thing. Is he's always injured. I feel like injury has plagued him his entire career.
I found that post U.S. loss anyway, the debate started that some of this, that America's best athletes don't participate in soccer, and that's, I think, factual.
Yeah.
You take Erling Haaland from Norway, the big,
of course.
He's 6'5". If he grew up here in the United States,
tight end,
he'd be a Division III basketball player.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't be the guy he is today.
No.
Travel sports are expensive.
Yeah.
The best training is expensive, and some people just can't afford it. I was listening to Landon Donovan on a podcast right after they lost, and he was talking about you have to make $100,000 to put these kids in, really top flight training programs.
Yep.
Especially in soccer. Soccer's one of those things that other countries treat like our American football or basketball or baseball. It's something that's sort of ingrained in this. It's the largest participation sport in the country, but what happens when they get to about 12 or 13, they go play other sports, specialty sports. High school coaches don't want you playing 2 or 3 sports. They'll talk about it.
Oh, I know.
But they really don't want you doing that because they want you in their program, and soccer's one of those that I think loses out a little bit.
Do you think that there will come a tipping point where that changes?
No, I can't see soccer moving into – it's hockey. But hockey's got a grip in the northern United States.
Yeah, totally.
Minnesota, North Dakota, the
Absolutely.
Dakotas, Wisconsin. You're always going to have their best athletes.
You got to have something to do when it's freezing
Exactly.
outside, right?
I think soccer is one of those things that every 4 years we're going to get excited about it. But it's been 30 years in between World Cups. I thought the World Cup presentation was pretty good.
Listen,
I thought it was really, really good.
I think that the 3 countries, North America, has done a fantastic job of hosting this World Cup. I haven't seen a chink in the armor yet. Maybe it will come. But I have been loving the fact that the other nations who are coming to North America have also been equally just pleasantly surprised, maybe is the best way to put it. Because I know how it is, and we haven't been to like some of those countries, and you have an idea in your mind about what the country is, and then you show up and you're like,
It's
oh
totally
my gosh,
different.
these people are super nice, and they, are super
We
welcoming.
live in a social media world. You get the
Yeah.
presentation off social media. But in 2030, the World Cup is in Spain, Morocco, and Portugal. That's going to be on in the middle of the night here.
Yes.
Are you going to watch it? And the answer is probably no.
And I think that is another thing, too, to think about is that the nations who care and whose soccer or football is ingrained in their culture, we see the videos of huge gatherings of people at 1 a.m. watching their team play in North America, right? Downtown Barcelona, whatever, is flooded with people watching it on a big screen no matter what time it is there. But when we flip it, I don't know that people, especially the United States and probably Canada, Mexico's probably going to be invested a little bit more than we are. But, we won't stay up late to
we
watch
love a
it.
party. And I think that's the United States should host the World Cup about every 12 years.
Yeah.
We love big events. We have the infrastructure
Infrastructure
to
is
put
a big
on
part
these
of it.
events. We didn't have to build stadiums
Right.
to host this thing. We have the hotels and the airports and everything that you need. We should host it every now and then. And I think that would help. But we went 30 years between World Cups.
I think it will come quicker than 30 years from now.
I think so,
it'll
too.
be back here before we know it.
I thought it was, from a presentation standpoint, Canada, Mexico, the United States did a great job putting it on. I thought everything went off, without much of a hitch.
Yeah.
And you lost all three host nations in 1
I
week.
know. One weekend, nobody made it past the round of 16. So that was the sad part of that. But it had a big moment this summer, cultural touchstone for the world globally, really. So
it also hurts that the best players in the world are not from here.
Yeah.
And the league that was supposed to bring soccer to America, the MLS, after the '94 World Cup, was part of the deal, really now is taking on aging superstars. Messi plays, Beckham played in it.
Sure.
There's a bunch of aging guys. Recognizable names, but in the twilight of their career.
Right. It's like when
Best
you
players in
age
the world
out of
play in England.
you pick any European league or South American league. After you age out of those, wash out. Maybe you come.
Yeah, and
you
you've
come to the
got
United
2 or
States.
3 years where you can make some decent money and live in the United States, and that's fine. But MLS crowds are just not. They're not what they are for college football, that's the other part. Is where do you put? If you're going to try and grow a sport, where do you put it?
Yeah.
It has to be during the summer. You're competing against baseball, which is doing relatively well. You can't put it in the fall.
Right.
You can't put it in the winter.
It's hard to put it anywhere,
Right.
honestly. You can't find
Our sports calendars are full.
they're full. Speaking of full sports calendars, the time will be here before we know it. We're coming up on college football season, also professional football season as well, if you want to think about that. But I'm more interested specifically in talking Razorbacks. How should we, there's just so much to talk about. How about the naming of the new
Credit Learfield. The athletic department third-partied this. They sent it out to Learfield, said go sell the naming rights, and they got Community America to come in and sponsor them. They're ingrained with the Chiefs, so it's not a fly-by-night kind of thing that we're aware of. 5.4 is the highest stadium deal. Now we haven't seen the details on this. How much did Learfield get out of this?
Right.
How much are you really going to, how much actual money is going to hit your account when it starts? It doesn't start for a calendar year. So there's some things I think that need some explanation. But look, if it's what they told us and it's on the up and up, congratulations. That's a massive step forward. Now, $5.4 million in the big scheme of things and what you need to fund a football team or a basketball team or your baseball team or other sports is a drop in the bucket, but it does help. A football roster, reportedly, Ohio State's got one at $55 million.
Yeah.
Arkansas was at 21 last year.
Yeah.
So that gets you halfway to where an Ohio State is.
So then maybe we'll be ranked number 21 at the end of the season.
This season, look, they can't be any worse than they were last year.
Oh, yeah. Maybe not the end of this
really
season. Maybe
can't.
the end of next season. Who knows?
I think there is reason for optimism. I don't want to say hope yet because the roster is still not where it needs to be. I think it's 14th out of 16 in the SEC, which is going to put you down.
It's so hard to be in the SEC. I'm not like making excuses because I feel like that's the league we need to be in. in every other sport other than football. I don't know most other sports other than football, we either dominate, looking at you, track, or we're at least competitive and we're in the upper top group of teams in that sport. But when it comes to football, something sad to me as a native Arkansan is just like we have turned a downturn.
Very much so.
In my lifetime. And I'm like,
I can't, my freshman year was the year that was their last year in the SWC.
Okay, I remember the day.
And I was working in television at the time, and I went down to the Liberty Bowl, or the Independence Bowl down in
They're
Shreveport.
the same.
They played Georgia.
Okay.
And I remember walking out on the field, and I was just down there where Arkansas was kind of working out. Georgia came out.
Right.
And the difference between Arkansas and Georgia was, I mean, it was noticeable. And you're like, okay, they've got some time before they're going to be competitive in the SEC. And that, I mean, it took 4 years, and they kind of won the West by default in '95 because Alabama and Auburn weren't eligible. But it's taken time. We've been in this league for 30 years.
Yes,
the data points are there. Arkansas is a second division team on average, year in, year out. I don't know that there's a way you're going to fight your way out of this unless you get a bumper crop of Arkansas kids who want to come here, sort of like Petrino did in the early 2000s when you got, the Ryan Mallets and all. And remember, Ryan went to Michigan first.
Yeah, sure.
Then came back, sat out a year, and then had the 2 years here. To me, you have to turn inward first before you can go outward. You've got to get the kids in this state.
So people talk about putting a fence up around Arkansas. We got to attract our own kids first. What do you think? I mean, I guess I know the answer to this, but like when I was a kid, everybody I knew would have jumped at the opportunity to do anything at the University of Arkansas. Yep. And I think that is still true for certain sports at Arkansas. It's not necessarily true it's not true for football.
Kids today are exposed to other colleges earlier. Kids our age.
Yeah.
Arkansas would have been the only thing that you heard of. Now, I grew up in Virginia.
Yeah.
And Virginia Tech and Virginia were the schools that I knew best.
Right.
I didn't know about Connecticut or, Maine or any of the schools in the Northeast or Far West or anything like that.
No. Why would you?
Kids today at the age of 10.
They know other schools.
They know other schools because they're on TV all the time. And if you're going to, 7-on-7 camps for football or soccer camps, you're exposed to other colleges and other experiences and other parts of the country. Kids travel for travel sports, and you see other parts of the country.
It's exciting kind of to travel and be somewhere else.
It is, and I think that's one of the things that not just Arkansas, but any small rural state sort of faces is these kids want to get out and go, and you have to make it attractive to them. You have to make an effort and show them that you want them. And the last few administrations of Arkansas football, at least, haven't done that.
Right.
Morris almost exclusively recruited Texas.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we have had some real stinkers in terms of recruiting our own state, right? What does it look like to recruit the state of Arkansas presently and to put that fence up and build that culture where kids want to come and play at the U of A?
There are good football players in the state of Arkansas at all levels who can help you. Are there superstars in bunches like there are in Texas or Florida, California or anything? No. But the superstars you have to keep. And Arkansas has not done that over the last couple of years. Their evaluations have been really, really bad. I think Ryan Silverfield's doing a better job. He's at least making the effort and trying to get guys. Anthony Kennedy is a defensive tackle from Little Rock Central. He was in last year's class. He was committed to Miami, and he's coming up here. You got to Danny Beal, who was committed to Ole Miss. He's coming here. I'll give you a good example. Conway, the Wampus Cats, had a run of offensive linemen. Arkansas never talked to him.
Really?
Or if they did, they put in minimal effort. And these kids just, all of a sudden, Conway became a pipeline to Memphis and Ole Miss. And you can't have that. You can't have kids at Fayetteville High School suddenly get up and go to the University of Minnesota and start as a sophomore.
Yeah.
You just can't have that sort of thing if they can play. Now, your evaluations, you may look at a kid and go, well, I don't know if he's perfect for us.
Man.
But, boy, you've got to, if they're talented, you got to keep them home because you're not just recruiting that guy. You're recruiting the guy after him.
That was hard with the Lindsey kid because his whole family, what a legacy he has at the University of Arkansas. But he was like, no, I'm going to go be.
There's some circumstances there that went along with it.
Sure.
But, I watched Drake for 3 years at Fayetteville. Drake can play.
Yeah.
He can play in, the Big Ten's the best conference in the country, and he can play in it.
Yeah.
He can certainly play for you.
100% agree. I enjoyed watching him this season. Long story, but his his mom and I went to church together as kids, South Arkansas in Camden. And anyway, so I have always followed those athletes in that family, and I was sad when he went away. But gosh darn it, I cheered for Minnesota.
Sure.
You know,
Drake's a great kid, and the Lindsay family's done wonders. Not only for the University of Arkansas, but the area as well. And we at Springdale we had Jack Lindsay.
Yeah, of course.
Jack's a great kid.
Yeah.
But I say kid, he's in his mid-20s now. But
yeah,
I mean, he just a great guy and humble as can be, and a good football player. Started a game. I think he started down at Baton Rouge for Arkansas. But those are the kind of kids you have to get.
And those are the kids you have to keep in the state. And once we do that, let's say we're successful or have under Silverfield have more success than we've had previously. What's the next step? How do we attract those 5 stars? And not only that, get them to stay. I feel like we've had some really high-level recruits that have come here, and they're like, cool, thanks for the year.
Yeah, thanks for the year.
Now I'm going off somewhere else.
One of my good friends is Dowell Loggins, the head coach at App State, and we were talking about this on our show a couple of months ago. And his thing is if you can keep the Arkansas kids, you're going to get them at a discount, not a huge discount, but you can get them at a discount and you can get them in bulk. You can get 15 Arkansas kids that can help you. Rotation guys, a couple starters here and there, play special teams. The spine, if you will, of your team, you can then pool your money and go after the big ones.
Right.
Because money's the thing that's going to attract them first.
Okay.
And that gets your attention. And then you've got to sell the program and all of that goes with it. I think, Silverfield's got an uphill battle. I really do. I think to get to the middle.
Right, because
that's going to be the hard part. Is you've got to get to the middle of the SEC before you can jump to the top.
And that's not even really a knock on him. It's more of a knock on the coaches that have come before him have kind of put us in a hole a little bit,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, this is a fixer-upper. I mean, there's no question about that. It's not like basketball where 2 or 3 guys can turn your fortune around.
Right.
You've got to have 30 guys that can turn your fortune around.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We're going to keep talking sports when we come back. I'm interested to hear your picks as to what games we should circle on our calendars this year, make sure we might want to pay attention to, and also I want to talk a little bit about basketball as well. So stick with us. We got more coming up your way right here on All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. Zach Arns joining us once again. Man, so great to talk with you. I love talking sports. We don't really get this in-depth about it, but you're the guy, so here you are.
Well, let's not get carried away. I have good notes.
All right, we were talking about football. Community America, was that right?
Yep, Community America
I'm
Razorback
sure
Stadium.
it will get easier to say. I mean, honestly, Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium is a mouthful also, and people really got used to saying it, and then they were like, well, Community America is hard to say, and I'm like, well, Donald W. Reynolds was hard to say also.
We actually on our show we didn't know what a credit union was, so we had to go and figure out what a credit union was first. And it makes sense how they got there. They're moving into Arkansas, and they needed a launching point, and this made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard other folks say this, but it is true that you don't necessarily. It was like, why isn't it Walmart? Why isn't it Tyson? You don't really need to advertise those brands in this state. I mean, everybody knows what they are, right?
Also, and this is the part that I think people have a hard time understanding. Yes, Walmart's headquartered right up the road, but they have a board. They don't have getting $5.4 million, getting a board that doesn't necessarily live here to agree to say, hey, we're going to give you $5.4 million. Tyson's decisions are made in Chicago.
Right.
They don't care.
Yeah.
Getting a corporation to do that is really, really difficult. What we found out about a credit union, and this was something that we didn't know, was they're not for profit. So any profits that they make, they have to. It's kind of like a charity where they have to spend it.
Okay.
They have to use it. And what they've been doing is handing out really large bonuses. But they
I bet their employees are not happy with
they're going to hate this, but now it's going to be moved into this. The funniest part of this to us when we started digging into it is that Jackson Mahomes is one of their staff members. He's a director of media.
Yeah.
And given Jackson's history, we were like, okay, let's roll with this.
You got to roll with it while you can.
Happen?
Yeah. Well, we're about to find out, I guess.
Really.
Well, so we got a new stadium name. We're going to start to see maybe some minimal changes this season, but really it's going to take shape the following season.
It coincides with the foundation's deal with their current bank running out, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it totally
We'll
does.
start to see some changes probably, in November and December. The idea that you can't get the signage down in time is,
right.
as my mother would call it, hokum.
Yes.
It is. That's not.
I thought
you can find a crane and some guys to put this stuff
fishy.
together in a couple of weeks.
I know it seems like many hands make light work, and you can just
it's very, very easy to
hire
do.
a group of people and let's get those signs changed out. But whatever. Okay, so that's happening. Also, let's look at the football calendar. Are there games? I guess I'll phrase it like this: what should we win? What might we win? And what will we lose?
There are 2 games on the schedule where you're like, if they lose those games, we've got a serious problem. That's
Right.
North Alabama and Tulsa.
Okay.
You can throw up Missouri. You can throw up South Carolina, Vanderbilt. Those are all games where you're like, you should be in those games. And then if you can steal one, you're 6-6.
Right.
But they have been so bad for the last couple of years. I don't know that you can just, because of the name on the front of the jersey, assume that they're going to do this. We had somebody on our show talking about beating South Carolina. It's like they've still got Lenora Sellers.
Yeah.
That's a top 5 draft
He's
pick.
amazing.
Yeah. And South Carolina, it's coming off a reasonably.
They had a good
They're going to
season.
call it disappointing, but they got better as the year went on.
They had a good season, I think. I
There's-
would have loved to have had their season.
And Vanderbilt is Vanderbilt. You see the name, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's Vanderbilt." Clark Lee they turned that thing around with Diego Pavia. We'll see what they do with their 5-star quarterback Curtis and see what happens. But there's not one because Vanderbilt's looking at you and going, "That's a win."
Right.
So it's going to be.
Where is that game?
That game is
know,
here, I believe.
here?
I'd
Okay.
have to look that one up, but
Yeah.
I think that one's here.
Okay, so you just named 5. If we're going to steal one, what do you think's most
You're gonna
likely
have to catch
be?
somebody on an off night. I know people are pointing at Utah. That game's at 9 p.m. It's maybe easier to look at the schedule and go, okay, who isn't going to happen?
Right.
Cross off Georgia. You're
Right.
going to have a lightning strike there. Can you go to Utah and win? Sure. Is it likely? Rice-Eccles is one of the toughest places to play in America.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily looking at that. Probably a league game. Tennessee's on the schedule. You might be able to get them. I'm not a huge believer in LSU.
We're at Vanderbilt.
At Vanderbilt? All right. I think that one's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Everybody points to Missouri, but they haven't beaten Missouri in like a decade.
It's so sad.
It's hard to understand.
I do not like the fact that they forced on us this rivalry. I'm like, whatever. I'm not really a big fan of that. Like, I'm still like, LSU is a
Borderline
rivalry. Yeah,
It's not a
exactly.
rivalry when one team wins the
whole
time.
thing. I mean, how many have we won? 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, yes, that's a weird one to me. It's weird how we never get up for that game. Did they
is.
move the time of it? Is it still around November, Thanksgiving time?
It's I think it's the end of October now.
Okay.
But you also have to take into account their head coach is from Arkansas.
Yeah.
And he does not like this program at all.
Right.
And that is one of, if not his biggest game of the year.
So he has venom in his veins
sure he does.
for that, but in a way that we have never been able to
Never matched it.
match. I know,
Never.
it's sad. Okay, so we're gonna win a couple games, and we might win a few more than that.
I think it's impossible for them to be worse.
What were we last year?
2-10. And
Oof,
one
no.
of the worst. Now, 6, a couple of those losses were close.
Yes,
But that was the Pittman era in a nutshell. Is
Do
you
you
just couldn't
think
close a deal.
that the silver touch is going to be that we're able to pull off those close games because we have been in so many close games, and every time I'm like, nope, we're going to lose. 3 points,
boy.
4 points.
My concern is you're resting your hopes on offense on somebody who's never played.
Right.
Here, you've got A.J. Hill, his quarterback at Memphis, who, he's a group of 5 quarterback. That's fine. You've got K.J. Jackson, okay. He hasn't played very much. He looked good against Texas, but
Right.
he doesn't have a complete body of work. You're turning around and going to hand the ball to Braylon Russell, who's done nothing for you over time, but get hurt and and check
Who is
out.
our offensive? Who is our GOAT? Like, who's the star?
I can't answer that. No, I don't think there is a guy right now
Not
on
yet.
that. On that,
You got to get on the pitch first.
You got to get
right?
out there and you've got to play. And I mean, who's your bell cow? I have no idea
Right.
at this point. And that's probably why there's some trepidation going forward, saying, can they get to 3? Like Vegas has them at 4.5 wins.
Okay.
I think they're at the 4-win mark. where I can comfortably say they're going to get 4. I don't know which 4 they are. I'm confident in 2 of them. I don't know which 4. But getting to that 5 mark and maybe to that 6 mark.
There's
an
an outside chance we'll go to a bowl game, but it doesn't seem like we're going to be any worse than we were last year.
They could go 1-11 and they'll still be better because they were so poorly coached last year.
I know. What was the deal with that? Honestly, like, what is your take? I love and have loved Bobby Petrino. I think he can rack up some yards, and no matter if there's no offensive line, which seemed to be the case last year. But what's the deal with being – that's what frustrates me as a person who, like, I appreciate discipline, and then I see just an entirely undisciplined team that is hardly even a step above high school.
Lack of leadership was the biggest thing last year. And I'll use the Notre Dame game at the end of the first half. I mean, Jadarian Price catches a swing pass. And there's a point at which 7 Razorbacks are around him, not a white jersey, but Jadarian Price, and he scores. There was a give-up factor. Like, once the defense started collapsing, the offense knew that they had to press and go and throw the ball down the field and score a bunch of points. And after a while, you just kind of, like, do we have to do this again?
Right.
I'll give them credit. They stayed. I think the Memphis game kind of broke them.
Because that was a hard loss.
That was a tough one to lose.
Credit Silverfield.
Yeah, and then the snowball started. I mean, you just get hammered at home. They released Pittman. They played better against Tennessee, but it was the same thing all year. It's just lack of leadership.
Yeah. Do you think we have that leadership factor this year?
$1 million question. I don't know.
And when you say leadership, do you mean coaching leadership, or do you mean from the
on
student
the field
athletes?
leadership?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody has to be there when things aren't going right on the field, because your coaches can't go out there with you.
Right.
Somebody has to be able to say, "Hey guys, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
This is the end." And it usually comes from your quarterback. And I think that was part of it last year.
Yeah.
As talented as Taylon Green was, he wasn't a leader.
Right.
You know, your best players were probably your interior offensive lineman, your guard, center guard. Those are probably your best players. Yeah. And you know, as much as I liked Francisco Carmona, he didn't really, I mean, his blocking grades were bad. That was a guy that you could have gone, okay, we need this guy to be a leader.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have it offensively or defensively.
They're talking about there being a quarterback battle right now. Do you think that is just a ruse to get KJ to play to his ability?
I think the strategy now is you have to keep these guys on campus through spring practice and through summer practice with at least the illusion that there is a quarterback battle. A.J. Hill is fine. He's a group of 5 quarterback. He's not a guy that you want going into Alabama or Tennessee or Vanderbilt.
Right.
I think K.J. Jackson's the guy, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough of him where teams have tape on him and can start to look at some of his tendencies and what is he patting the ball? Is he
he went in last year, and I think a lot of people will want to celebrate the fact that like he could do a scramble touchdown, or they just called a quarterback sweep around the corner, whatever, and he could score or he could get positive yardage. Also, though, you got to be able to throw the ball. I saw a lot of him just tucking and running because you take what the defense gives you. But if you're there every play, the defense is going to start to expect that, and you got to complete passes.
Experience. You know, if you see an opposite color jersey flash in front of you, and all of a sudden you're pulling the ball down and going. And this offense is different than Petrino's offense. It's less intricate, which is probably a good thing.
Right.
Simple is fast.
I just wanted to stop you mid-flow to talk about the intricacies, because even before Petrino, who was the offensive coordinator? I can't think.
Dan Enos.
That was
we used to call him the sedan.
So intricate also, right? Like, it feels like we've had a bunch of complicated and Chad Morris, had that famous statement where he's like, well, the team doesn't even know 25% of the playbook.
Rule, yeah.
I'm like, what?
Gus Malzahn and Chip Kelly are two. I will tell you, are the two most influential. You can have your Nick Sabans, and Chip Kelly, Gus Malzahn are the two most influential college football coaches of this century. Gus brought tempo,
right,
and Chip Kelly brought the RPO.
Yeah, those
two things, they changed rules for those guys. Saban just won, which is, I mean, I would put Saban third.
Yeah,
but I would put Gus and Chip in that group. The offense that will run this year is more like Chip Kelly's and Gus Malzahn's than what we saw last year.
It's going to be more RPO, run pass option.
I think there'll be some of it, and Petrino's system had that. Here's the thing about Petrino: he's not as good as people think he is. What we remember is 2010 and 2011.
Yeah, we do.
We romanticize that. He was really difficult. He couldn't recruit, and his offense was great. And I'll take you back to the Memphis game. They ran up and down the field in the first half, but what happened? Adjustments were made by Memphis at halftime.
Exactly.
They scored 3 points in the second half.
Yeah.
3.
That was a problem, I think, of our team last year, the whole season long, is that we were not able to make in-game adjustments.
Okay, now I've talked to a lot of coaches about this. It's not necessarily the adjustments; it's your mentality. What worked in the first half? How can I get things to work in the second half? How can I get the things that I want to do to work in the second half? You're not changing blocking schemes. You're not going in and okay, we're going to run the flex bone in the second half. We need they're showing us this. Here's how we're going to attack it, but we're going to stay within our game plan. And Notre Dame game, they scored 3 points in the second half. They just got steamrolled in the second half of games. And I think, some of that was Taylor Green. He was not prepared for that at all. And his receivers weren't great. And
do you think he'll do anything in the NFL?
I think a position change would probably have the Matt Jones route where he goes and plays wide receiver. You're 6'6", you run a 4.4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's useful at the NFL level if you're willing to do it.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of, putting packages in for certain
one
guys.
guy.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that because I think you're wasting prep time. But I think he'll have, every NFL player's goal is to go 4 years, 4 games. That gets
it's always about humbling quarterbacks. Like Tim Tebow wouldn't do it, right? He wanted to be quarterback or whatever.
Well, he played fullback, tight end. He moved around later in his career.
He did, right? But you got to do that in order to get some game time. If you go in with like I'm QB1.
NFL is so cutthroat, though. I mean, if Taylor Green isn't willing to do what the Browns are asking, there's another 7 rounds next year, and we're going to bring somebody else in.
Yeah, that's so rough. Okay, let's talk basketball, shall we? What do you think? What thoughts? Initial thoughts? We have a team.
Oh yeah.
And they're pretty good.
The one thing with John Calipari is you never have to worry about the roster. But I was talking to a Kentucky fan here in town, and it's the same.
What? There's one of those here in town. Get them out.
Yeah, but it's the same thing the Kentucky fans went through. You look at the roster and like, this is great. We got 5 stars. We got all of this stuff. John Calipari has struggled to get that talent to mesh, especially in March. There was a period there where he didn't get out of the second round.
Right.
Okay, now we went to the Sweet 16 this year. I think the expectation is the
at
Elite
least
8,
the Elite 8. Yeah.
I think they're going to be very, very competitive in the league. Do I have questions? Do I think they're the best team in the country? No. I think we're going to find out really early. They're playing Michigan State on Thanksgiving Day. That will be a really interesting
What would
test.
change your mind if they were able to coalesce, to come together, to gel? If they do that, could they be the best team of the country?
They've always had an Achilles heel, a fatal flaw.
Right.
Last year, it was the bigs just weren't good enough. The year before, the bigs weren't good enough.
Yeah, the bigs has been a problem.
The bigs has been the problem. And if you have a front court with you don't need Patrick Ewing in there. You need somebody that can alter shots a little bit and rebound.
Yeah.
And give you points in the paint when you have to have them. And they haven't had that under John Calipari.
Yeah,
and that's been frustrating because you had a generational talent like Darius Acuff. And you had Malik Thomas, who was a second-round pick. And you had Brazil. And all of these guys. And Brazil was that guy, but he's a 3.
But we moved him out, and he drained 3-pointers. Like, that's what we needed him.
He was a stretch 4 or a 3.
We needed the guy who just gets the Dennis Rodman and then kicks it out to, I know Dennis Rodman's not that tall either. Maybe that's not a great example. David Robinson, I don't know, like the Admiral, right? Just hulking for a rebound and then kick it out to the guy that makes the shot.
I had a discussion years ago with Nolan Richardson when I was covering the team, and if you look at his first really good run with Mayberry, Day, and Miller.
The Big O?
Miller was a guy you could put down on the block, but he was a passing guy.
Yeah.
And Nolan would say, we needed a guy that you could drop the ball on the block and he would get you 2. Well, guess who they got?
Yeah.
They got Corliss Williamson.
That's right.
They had a guy that if you doubled Corliss, ball was going out to Dillard or Scotty Thurman or one of those guys, and they were going to hit the 3 and make you pay for it. And that double team suddenly broke away. Arkansas doesn't have that.
We haven't had that in a number of years.
Yeah, I think if you and I don't think you can in today's game you can put a guy down on the block like that anymore. That's not the way the game's played.
Right, it's different.
But you have to have a guy that you can do that 2 or 3 times a game when you've got to stop a run or you need to finish off a run.
Yeah,
you're on an 8-0 run. We need to make this a 10-0 run, maybe with a foul, something like that. You got to have one of those.
You need
guys.
to have the guy
whoever
down there
it is
catching the ball, kicking it out. He draws the double team. Yeah, totally.
I trust John Calipari. That's never never been a problem. I think he'll always put together a good team on the floor. You're
Yeah.
gonna have 5 stars. You're gonna draft night, man. You're gonna win. But Kentucky did that for a decade, and they got tired of it.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, and I'm hoping that Arkansas can somehow break through that glass ceiling and get to the next level.
When they ran into Arizona. I mean, you saw the
Oh,
difference
man.
between those,
absolutely.
where
There
those
was,
teams were.
I mean, and I had Arizona going all the way, but it was a marked difference, and there was no doubt that those 4 teams, they looked competitive at the Final Four level. And I mean, UConn.
Look on draft night. Michigan has a bunch of guys drafted.
Yeah.
Do
they have a coach yet?
Yes, they elevated from within.
Okay.
They'll be fine. I think Michigan will go back to the middle of the Big Ten. But it is weird that Jim Harbaugh wins the national title, leaves. Dusty May wins the national title, leaves.
What is that? Is it something in the water
You
up
ever
there
been
in
to Ann Arbor?
I have been to Ann Arbor.
It's a terrible place. It really is.
But the Big House is pretty impressive as far as just being a big stadium.
Oh, yes. Okay. As far as being big,
just
yes.
I know you're a Notre Dame guy, so
I
you're
am.
never going to talk
I've been
about
in funeral
that.
parlors that were noisier than the Big House.
Yeah, of course. But just being a big stadium, it's like,
it's
this
massive.
thing's
And,
huge.
Yeah, you enter at the top of it and you just kind of look down.
Yeah, you look
and it's
down.
just
I think that's
huge.
the coolest part of it.
Yeah.
Is you walk in like sidewalk level, and you're like, well, this place
I
doesn't
can't
look
say
that
anything
big.
nice about Michigan.
And then you
It's
look
just
down.
Against my constitution.
Here. Did you go to Notre Dame at all?
No. I'm an Irish Catholic kid.
You just watched NBC as a lot as a kid.
No.
And drank the water.
My uncle went to Notre Dame.
Okay.
I can tell you how I became a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, sure. We got a little bit of
So
time.
my grandmother was Irish born.
Okay.
Came here in 1921, and by 1933, my great grandmother was ready to go home.
Yeah,
She wanted to go back to
okay.
Ireland. Now my great grandfather had established himself. He was an architect. He was doing quite well before, obviously before the Depression hit.
Sure.
But my grandmother, my great grandmother, in a last ditched effort to try and get her husband, my great grandfather, and my grandmother to go back to Ireland, bought tickets to see the United States Army play the Fighting Irish at Yankee Stadium in football. Now my great grandmother thought they were going to see European football. So you imagine
soccer.
her
Okay.
disappointment when she
It
walked
was
in.
American football.
Yeah, American football, and she found out the Fighting Irish were a bunch of Catholic kids from Indiana.
Yeah.
And my grandmother fell in love with it. And fell in love with Rockney, the band, the stadium, the whole mythology
Of course.
that went with Notre Dame. My father's oldest brother went to Notre Dame. His roommate was Alan Page.
Wow.
Former NFL MVP, Hall of Famer, Minnesota Supreme Court judge. Met Alan Page a bunch of times growing up. I grew up with it. That's how I grew up.
And that culture is still so strong. I feel like we want our culture to be strong again here at the University of Arkansas, but you're starting to see the cracks, especially when the stadium is like half full.
There are, I went to Ohio State a couple of years ago. I've been to Michigan a bunch. The Blue Bloods, if you will, really have done a nice job, most of them, of keeping the game the way it was. When you get on campus, it's very traditional.
Yeah.
The band's marching around. Notre Dame players still go to mass, and then they walk to the stadium. The band's playing. All of that kind of stuff. The schools that have been on the fringe are more modern, more corporate.
Yes.
There's a lot more everything's sponsored. That sort of thing. And to me, that's made the game in some places a little less intimate.
Yeah, watered it down maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a break. We come back, we're going to talk about some blockbusters. I know you have an opinion on a film you saw recently.
That's awful.
So we're going to switch gears entirely to close out today's show when we come back after this quick break. All right, Zach Arns still with us.
Still here.
That's right.
They haven't escorted me out yet.
Not yet, and I haven't been escorted out either, so I think I still have a job, which is kind of exciting.
Well, they'll give you the pink slip and ask you to clean out your desk.
Yeah,
They'll just
that's right.
take me
I can't
out.
wait. We've talked a lot of sports, but now let's talk blockbuster movies because summer.
Have you seen
is
any?
a
Because I
time-
haven't.
Okay, so I have seen a few. I saw Obsession, the scary movie that came out this summer.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen another one, and I can't think of what it is. Maybe that was way back in May when the summer started.
That counts.
Yeah. So anyway, I have been to the theater and soaked up the air conditioning and big old bucket of popcorn. But you were telling me that you let your daughter pick a movie? What is the deal?
She's on a roll. She has picked 2 incredibly terrible movies in a row. She's into the horror genre.
Okay.
And last year I
am
took
too.
her to see Weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Which we both thought was
I
really,
liked
really
Weapons,
good.
yeah.
She was very excited when Scream 7 came out. The Neve Campbell.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, you hated it.
Terrible.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
You can view that now. I think
In
it's on streaming.
retrospect, after her latest movie suggestion, that should have won the Oscar.
Okay,
Yeah,
wow.
we went and saw Scary Movie 6.
Oh.
On the way, now she paid for the tickets, which should have been like the bells, alarms should have been going off. She paid for the
Because she
tickets.
has a job now.
Right, she does have a job.
Yeah.
She paid for the tickets, and I said, what did it get on? We always go to Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, what did it get on Rotten Tomatoes? And she goes, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's like
again, alarm bells.
30%.
22.
22, okay.
Within 3 minutes of this movie starting, I looked at her and I said, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There was, I don't know what was happening in the theater, but there was somebody threw up. There was some sort of noise going on 3 rows back. Plus, the movie was bad.
Yeah.
Like
That's a great experience.
Oh, it was one of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah, it
she's
had to be.
barred from picking movies ever again.
No, it has to be.
We went home after we watched Scream 7.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, if we're gonna do this, I'm gonna show you real thrillers.
Right.
We watched Silence of the Lambs.
Okay, perfect.
Which she loved.
Yes.
Then we watched what was it? Paranormal Activity.
Oh, that's a great one.
And the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah,
I'm like,
great.
there you
Yes.
go.
Boom.
And she gave me Scream 6 or Scream 7 and Scary Movie 6, which was just awful.
Well,
Couldn't have been worse.
Once you get above 5,
Yeah.
I mean, can you expect anything better?
No, Rocky stopped at 5.
Yeah,
That's kind of now the Apollo movies are different, but
Right, you got to
Rocky
pull the
5
plug
was-
at some point and be like, we're done with it.
Fast
but
and
I
the
remember,
Furious.
I even remember when I was young watching. I didn't go to the theater to see it, but I went. I don't know, saw a scary movie somewhere. I got the jokes. I usually like those mock style movies. But also the things when they get tedious, and I get the jokes in the first 10 minutes, and then they just kind of retread the same joke for 2 hours.
Yeah, that was a hard watch.
Yeah,
And I asked several times during the movie, do you want to leave? She seemed to enjoy it. But I think my experience in this, I've walked out of one movie in my life, and that one I was considering getting up and walking out of. It was that bad.
Wow.
Final Analysis was the movie I walked out of.
Okay.
Richard Gere was his movie after Pretty Woman.
I remember
Horrible.
that movie. I
Horrible
didn't
movie.
like it either.
Terrible.
Have you seen at least a portion of the movies that they mock in the Scary Movie?
Some of them,
'Cause
like they were mocking Weapons.
Okay, yes,
Which
yes.
I thought Weapons was really good.
Because did they have a Gladys? Did they have like the grandma?
No,
no. Okay.
Yes, they did.
Or did they
That was in there.
snap
The
some-
kids running out.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
they
yeah,
were,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
They were medicated.
Yeah.
It was just, it was absolutely atrocious. I banned her from picking.
She can't choose a movie
No,
again.
right. And what was worse was we were watching the previews, and none of them looked good. But I could have been. It may have just been me in a bad mood.
Yeah, maybe you weren't
I was in a bad frame of mind.
up for it yet. I don't know.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah,
It's so
I don't.
bad.
Even you saying this, even before that, I didn't. It's not on my card of movies that I even want to see.
That's they should pay you to go.
Yeah.
It was absolutely terrible.
Okay, so do you have any that you want to see?
I got to be honest. I haven't looked lately. Like we were supposed to see. I still haven't seen the Star Wars Grogu movie.
We did see that,
Grogu.
yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
That's another one. Okay, so we did see that.
chose Scary Movie 6 over Grogu.
Wow. Okay.
So you see where I'm coming from.
Hey,
So
Grogu-
that's on my my list.
Grogu is. I wouldn't say it's fantastic, but
Ties
it's
the bow.
not.
It just ties
bad.
the bow. It's El
Yeah.
Camino.
Ties the bow, man.
Right.
And it's like, don't go in expecting it to be some Skywalker saga and have deep meaning of the universe. It's just go to have
Yeah,
fun.
just put the bow on this thing for
Yeah.
me. That's all
That's
I need.
it.
I did watch Lincoln recently.
Lincoln.
Yeah, that was one that I kind of missed. The
You
first time on.
I remember going to the theater to see
It's
that one,
terrific.
actually.
It really is. It's a very, very, very good movie. You have to do some research.
It's a Spielberg,
very much so.
and so it has that Spielberg look to it. Daniel Day-Lewis is
Looks
fantastic.
just like Abe Lincoln.
Yeah, he's
Incredible.
fantastic.
But I did watch that. I've watched. I've had to do things to palate cleanse after Scream and Scary Movie. And she just comes down and just like shakes her head. Last night we watched Aladdin.
Okay.
The Robin Williams version, which is the only acceptable
that's the true version.
to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we hope that you're enjoying whatever you're watching. Glad you're tuning in, watching this show. And I think that's it. I mean, this has been a great kind of hour to hang out with you, talk sports.
Waste time, man. That's what I do. You need somebody to waste time. I'm your Don Rickles.
He's your professional time waster, Zach Arns. Thanks for joining us from ESPN Arkansas. We'll be back next week with some more. Until then, as we say every week, you can't be right about everything, but you can be right about now. We'll see you next time, everybody.